So dynamic strategic math is a math intervention which helps English learners succeed in word problems. Word problems are really important in math because they show real-world applications to the math concepts being taught. So math content is unforgiving in terms of the constant need to build specific working math and English knowledge that is dependent on reading and comprehension skills. Not only can English learners struggle with understanding mathematical concepts, they can also struggle with the English that is surrounded around the mathematical concepts. So what is dynamic strategic math? Dynamic strategic math breaks down word problems into 4 levels to recognize where the student lacked the knowledge to produce the correct answer in a word problem. The 4 levels go from beginning to intermediate to advanced intermediate and finally technical vocabulary. For level 1 or beginning, the word problem would consist of conversational words in comparison to level 4 or technical vocabulary, where academic language would be used in the question. The purpose of this intervention is to master the student's current level and then advance to the next level, and so on and so forth. So when I read this, it really reminded me of when you go from level 1 down to 2, 3, and then 4. Level 1 would be more of a student's BICS, and then once you move down the levels, you are working towards building their CALP. So now we'll go into the components of dynamic strategic math and how to get English learners to succeed to that next level of linguistic modification. So step 1 is pre-teaching concepts and terminology. So to improve the student's comprehension, the teacher is expected to find the key vocabulary. So for each vocabulary word, it must be pronounced and defined in various ways, as you can see here. We have it written out, and then the teacher says the word is stock. It means to fill up or put more. Put more means to add. And then the teacher should contextualize and redefine the word. So here the teacher says, when I go to the grocery store, I see the owner stock with cans of food. His shelf has 5 cans of food. He needs to stock 5 more. What does stock mean? Stock means to add, fill up, put more. 5 cans plus 5 more is 10. Now it's your turn. So it would be the student's turn to then define the vocabulary word and provide an example for himself or herself. This should be repeated 3 times. Step 2 is comprehension strategies instruction. So here the teacher models a word problem and creates a cue sheet. So as you can see here, the numbers are circled, our vocab word stock is underlined, how many more is kind of another key word in this word problem. And then in this step, the teacher's really encouraged to tap the student's prior knowledge, what the student already knows about the word problem. And the student should recognize stock. Step 3 is dynamic testing using probes. So part 1 would be to review the problem they went over, and then part 2 would be to test the student, and hopefully the student thinks back to the teacher writing on the board and explaining the word and whatnot. So the student needs to receive at least 100% or 100% problem-solving accuracy to move on to the next level. So relating dynamic strategic math to classroom observations. So I didn't observe any interventions, but I did notice my master teacher taking technical vocabulary and turning it into more conversational vocabulary. And when I say that, that was a little bit extreme, but for example, when the students were told to solve a word problem, she told them if you see is, that means equals. If you see of, that means multiplication and you need to multiply. So what they were working on was a problem like the one I have right here. What percent of 70 is 14? So that tells the student that x times 70 equals 14. And then you solve the math and you get 20%. So my discussion question for this article is, how do you think visuals and manipulatives could further dynamic strategic math? This is my question because in the current intervention, there's no mention of visuals and manipulatives, so I think that it could help. And that's it.